G'day everyone. This isn't the way I'd planned to start my X5 build. We've got an issue and I haven't even started working on it because the weather at the moment has been absolutely terrible. We've just had rain after rain after rain and not the opportunity to sort of get outside and work on it. My garage is absolutely chocker with the E46 project, with my Yamaha project, and up the back there, you might be able to see it, I've got my grandson's pit bike or dirt bike. I've had to replace the carburetor on that as well. I didn't really have the time for these sort of dramas which I'm going through with the X5. Might be able to make it out down there. I've got my toolbox out, my socket set, the trolley jack and some jack stands because my X5 is currently sitting idle over at the local shopping centre because we went there yesterday afternoon and we came back out, put the key in it, and everything sort of lights up on the dash, but as soon as you turn the key on, it's just not even engaging the starter motor. So we've got an electrical problem of some description going on with it, which is stopping the starter motor from engaging. I've borrowed my daughter's car and I'm going to make a trip over to the shopping centre now with my tools and we'll see if we can't get this thing sorted out. I just hate electrical problems and there's so many things really that could be causing it. I'm going to load this up. We're going to go for a drive and when we get over there I'll fire the camera up again and we'll see what happens, eh? I've borrowed my daughter's car to come fix the X5, or hopefully fix it. It's front wheel drive and I've never been a real fan of front wheel drive. If you're used to driving rear wheel drive, then front wheel drive is just really twitchy. But the other thing is, because it's an Australian car, the indicator is on the right and the wipers are on the left, which is totally opposite from the X5. So every time I've come up to a corner, wipers have gone on. I hope I haven't scratched up the windscreen too much because I think I've had the wipers going on a dry windscreen about 3 or 4 times on the drive over, and the people behind me have got no idea what I'm doing. They're thinking, is he turning right or left? But the wipers are on. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick the key in the ignition, turn it, because it's been sitting overnight. Maybe. If that doesn't work, my next plan is I'm going to disconnect the battery and hopefully maybe the computer will reset. So if it's a fault with the switch or something like that, effectively resetting the computer might kick it. So that's plan B. And then plan C is we get the tools out and start getting our hands dirty and try and clean up a few connectors and see what happens. So wish me luck. So things aren't going as planned. What I've done so far is I've just tried starting it and nothing happened. I've disconnected the battery to hopefully, get the computer reset and nothing. And then I've cleaned up the battery post, connected everything back up, and then I've gone underneath the bonnet and cleaned up the terminal for the, I guess you call it the remote power thing, and the negative terminal. And then I've got down there is the battery out of my E46. So I put that on charge last night and made sure it's got plenty of power in it. We'll see if that puts a bit extra current in. It could be just that it's just not got that extra bit of oomph in the battery that it needs to start it up. I did notice when I put the key on that I got a check coolant level light come up. So I thought maybe if the coolant level's low, that it's telling the computer that there's not enough coolant to start the car. So it sort of sends it into like a limp mode type thing. But when I've taken the radiator cap off, I'll show you what I've collected out of that coolant or that expansion tank. All this black slime and goop, and it's just like tar. You don't want to get it on your hands. That's going to take some work to get off. It's going to take plenty of hand cleaner to clean off. So that's the goop, and it just sort of erupted out of the expansion tank, almost like a volcano. Let's go around and see if we can't fire this thing up. Now ideally you'd want this so that there's no accessories on, but as you can see here, I'm missing some buttons. I can't turn the fan off. So anyway, I've had the battery on now for about 5 minutes. We'll see what happens. Everything sort of fires up. A few check lights, but that's normal. And Nothing, not even a click. It's really bizarre. Just moving the gear lever around. Down a few times. Put it back into park. See, when I put it back into park, it's dropping that lever down, which I'm assuming tells it it's in neutral. I jumped in the car yesterday to come to the shops. Usually if the battery's getting low or something, you can sort of hear it sort of starting to strain to sort of fire up. And nothing, you know, everything seemed like normal. And I parked the car wasn't mucking up. There was no warning lights come up on the dash on the driveway over. And then went into the shops, came out half an hour, 45 minutes later, turned the key and everything, you know, the fan and radio came on, sweet. And then I've gone to the next sort of stage and the starter motor's just not even engaging. I should have brought over my scanner to plug into the OBD socket and see if that throws up any sort of clues as to what's going on. So that's, I guess, plan D. I'm just starting to run out of options here. I've had the X5 towed back from the shopping centre. I haven't been able to get it going. I plugged my scanner tool in and there's no error codes or fault codes showing up on that. I then got a mobile mechanic out to have a look at it. After about 45 minutes to an hour, was scratching his head and we organised a flatbed and got it towed back home. But first, I'll open this garage door and see if I can do it without waking the missus up. So, my remote clicker for the garage door was fucking awesome. I've been doing it manually. Scared the cat off. Get down, old person noises. I've had to order a new part for the X5 and I'll give you an update where we're at, but I haven't been idle. Done a bit of work on my grandson's bike, but I've also done some work on the R6. What I've done is I've put a new exhaust on the R6 and it's friggin' awesome. Fair dinkum, I wish putting an exhaust on the E46 was as easy as putting that exhaust on that. I'll give you an idea how easy it was. If you can open a beer, you can put that exhaust on, which is much easier than trying to put an exhaust on your E46. I'm going to grab a hat so the air doesn't blow in the eyes, and grab my coffee, and while I'm doing that, I'll show you a bit of footage of when I was working on the R6. Because what's the one thing you do when you rip your muffler off your project car, bike, whatever it is? Well, naturally, you start it up to see what a straight through sounds like. So that's what I did on the R6. So while I'm getting myself organised out at the X5, I'll show you this footage because, yeah, better than making a coffee montage, I guess. Trying to get comfortable sitting on this side step. It's not easy. It's friggin' cold. Stone crows, mate. The wind's blowing a fair dinkum gale. And it's bloody cold. We've got this cold southerly coming up from down south. I can tell you what, there's some brass monkeys out there looking for welders at the moment. If you pull the glove box out, in behind it, on the X5, you've got one of these and it's, I can't think of the name of it, it's like a secondary ECU. From the research that I did, it seems like every now and then, this thing here can go kaput. What I believe the problem is, that controller can cause a raft of problems if it starts to go out of whack, including giving you some weird error codes on your dash, affecting things like your power window function, your heater controls. Also, really bad. It'll stop the car from starting. The process I've gone through is when I got the X5 back home, first thing I did was pull the battery out, let it sit for about 2 hours to try and reset the ECU in case that was a problem. That didn't work, so I took the battery back out, stuck it on charge, and it's now fully charged. So there's not a problem with the battery because it's able to charge and it's holding a charge, so the battery's good. From there I basically started getting my multimeter out and testing wires pretty much from the back of the car through to the front of the car. Apart from the useless fuses, which control your heated seats and things like that, I've tested and inspected all the fuses in the fuse box, under the bonnet and in the boot, and they're all good, so I know that's not what it is. And then from there I had the battery connected, and it's not something I like to do, but desperation, so I thought, well, okay, is the starter motor working? Is it a case that the solenoid in the starter motor is sticking? So an old trick I used to do, I had this old Datsun 200B, and it was prone to starter motor failures. The solenoid was always sticking. So what you do is you grab a screwdriver and stick it between the positive and negative on the starter motor on the solenoid, and you could short, basically shorts, which is enough to give the solenoid a bit of a jolt. But that was a pretty basic car. It didn't have a computer, so I never worried, but I was a little bit nervous about doing it on this. But desperate times, desperate measures. So shorted out the starter motor. Guess what? It turns over, but it doesn't start. So that leads me to thinking that it was an immobiliser issue. I can get the starter motor to turn over, so I know that's not a problem. I'm getting plenty of current from the battery through to the engine, enough to turn the car over, but she just won't fire. It's not even close to firing. And then a bit of research on Dr. Google led me to this GPU. I've tracked a second-hand one down from some wreckers down in Melbourne, but the guys down there have been super helpful. We had emails going back and forward with part numbers and photos and shit like that to make sure that the one they were sending me was compatible. So yeah, I've got it now, and what I'm going to do now is plug that in to that mess of wires and where the glove box usually lives. Let's see if she goes. Moment of truth. I know I've mentioned it before, but Jesus, rotten day. Okay, so I've got power to everything, so that's a good start. Nothing. Fucking nothing. I was really worried about this happening. Just starting to run out of options. Fuck. Everything's lighting up. See? Radio, fan, check brake lights. Same message I had before. I really think it's an immobiliser issue. Now, one of the things with the body control module, that's what it's called by the way, I think, is it you may need to get it reprogrammed for the car so it reads all the sensors, which I understand is only about half an hour's work, but I've got to get BMW to do it. So do I want to go down that expense? Because I'm friggin' chasing my tail here at the moment. It's such an unusual problem because I've got power going to the starter motor. I know that because I can short it out and the engine will turn over, so the starter motor will work. The problem is that I'm pretty sure it's an immobiliser issue because everything else is working. It's just that the computer or the ECU is thinking maybe it's not recognising the key. This key's a bit dicky anyway, as you can see, and in order to get the car to open, they've put this aftermarket gizmo on. So I'm wondering if the key itself has gone dicky, and the ECU is thinking that somebody's trying to steal the car. Let's try this. That's weird. Just bear with me a sec. Oh, no, I gotta get out. Don't tell me I'm locked in my car. Wrong window open. Sorry if I'm seeming a bit frustrated. Fuck, I am. You know, I'd just give this car away. It's just that I've spent another $3,000 on service bits for it. So I'm already into it for $5,000. And I'm not gonna get $5,000 for it if I sell it. And now I can't even get out of my fucking car. Here we go. Yay, window works. Okay, so I'm out of my car. Let's try this. Put my sockets away so I don't have those rolling down the hill, because that'll just really make my day. Okay, so I'm going to close these. Everything is locked. Let's try this. Lock the car. That's interesting. Check this out. Yes! And it lives! Oh dear. The key was the key. After all that. Oh, I'm wrapped. Let me get back into the garage and we'll wrap this up. So what a drama that was. We finally got it going, and after all that, the key was the key. What I did was take the key down to my local Mr. Minute, got them to test the key, and yeah, it turned out the key wasn't emitting a transponder signal, which meant when I was putting it in the ignition, the ECU wasn't picking up the signal to actually start the car. So it was almost like it was treating it as if somebody was trying to steal the car and jam a screwdriver into the ignition switch. Once I knew that, I was able to track down a mobile locksmith who had some experience with BMWs. He came out, plugged his gear in, was able to get transponder code, and then cut a new key and programmed it with the transponder code, and bang, we're off and running. So I'm glad that's done, because I bought the X5 as my daily driver and it wasn't even daily driving, so it caused some real problems. All my bits and pieces have now arrived for the X5, so I've got all my shockies, suspension bushes, all the filters, oils, lubricants, all that sort of stuff's here, so I can start getting onto that. But my next video is going to be on the E46. So now that I've got my daily driver, daily driving, I can start cracking on with ripping the engine out of the E46 so I can get on with installing those mods. So I'm really excited about that, and we'll even throw in a sprinkling of R6 content for you as well. So if you've enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out my channel if you do. If you'd like to see more content on the E46, X5 and the R6, consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you get a notification each time I upload a new video. So I've really enjoyed your company. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. But until we meet again, look after yourselves, stay safe, and TTFN.